Continuing Lab 6 Pre-Lab, Part 2. This is the part with the hanging mass and the other hanging mass, but no tilt quite yet. So I left off with this equation, and M total is a little different than it was last time. Before we had M car plus M hanging, but here we have a mass hanging on both sides, and that must be accounted for when we write the total mass. So we're given the mass is 100 grams for MH, and so this left hanging mass is 100 grams. The one on the right would be 100 over 3, which is about 33, and the cart mass has not changed. So this is A, which is 0.400 meters per second squared. Now the final part with the slanted ramp. The equation is going to be similar to the last situation because you have the two hanging masses in the same arrangement. However, you can see I've left a blank here for another term, another force. Not only is the hanging mass, not only are both hanging masses pulling on the car, but the car now has, since there is a tilt in the ramp, the force of gravity on the car itself will also be a factor, because before it was canceled by the normal force of the table. Without the hanging mass, the car would have just sat there, but now it will begin to roll, and it would begin to roll even without these hanging masses. Now hopefully you have worked with mass on a ramp, but the idea here is to get this component of the acceleration. The acceleration due to gravity, that is. Because gravity always pulls straight down, but not all of that will cause the car to move because the ramp dilutes the effect of gravity, so to speak. It turns out, you can see there's a right angle here. It turns out that this angle is the same 30 degrees, the same angle as whatever the tilt of the ramp is. So if you look at just this triangle, which I've highlighted in blue, the component that we care about is this one. That's the component that is along the ramp. And that component is the full force times sine of 30 degrees, because it is the opposite of this 30-degree angle, the opposite side. Interestingly, not that it matters in this situation, but it will be important to know in general in other problems. This other side is the same mass and gravity times cosine of 30 degrees. So we now have three forces. We have the car, the force of gravity that acts on the car, which is this third force. We have the force of gravity on the two hanging masses, and those two forces, rather of the three forces, you can see that this one and this one are pointing in the same direction, which we have called the positive direction. This one, which I've circled in red, has a negative sign in front, and it is because this mh over 3, the other hanging mass, is pulling in the opposite direction. So let's do some algebra.